Yeah.
Hello, hello. Ready to start?
Ben, are you starting from there? Are you going to speak from there? Are we filming that way then? Or whichever way is easier? We're going to go that way or that way?
Which way are we filming?
The camera pointing at me here, and you're pointing out that way.
Right behind you.
Do it this way. Yeah? Okay. Welcome everyone. Introduce the first speaker. We'll bring up Joe. Fantastic speaker. Joe Blair. You ready, Joe?
Ready, sir? Joe!
Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Right, good. I'm going to hand over without further ado. Is Joe.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that came here today and made the effort. It's never easy to stand in front of people that you don't even know, strangers, and say that you were raped and abused as a child. We were raped and abused as children. So was a lot of women, young little girls were raped and abused. We've got a massive problem in this country that where child abuse is concerned, yeah, it's allowed to happen. It's happened for 70, 80 years. Me and Bobby, my twin brother, he can't be here today, but we won the biggest court case in Europe. We changed 127 laws to protect children from being raped and abused. No, please don't clap. Yeah. The laws haven't been implemented. Yeah. And we won our case in 2017. Social services, the Protection Acts, go under 1989. Yeah. Whenever we changed them laws, it should have been the 2017 Act, but it was never implemented. We expose the government, social services, police force, everything, because we can. Because we know how corrupt the system is. I wish Bobby was here today, but he ain't. But me and Bobby are going to do a documentary to expose how corrupt the system is.
Go on, Joe. Take a deep breath.
Go on, Joe.
We won our case, but the government shit all over us. Why do you think they did that? They did that because of the corruptness that's in the government. Me and Bobby waived our anonymity in the court of law. That's why we call us the real truth tellers. We know how corrupt the system is. That's why we fight against the system. It doesn't matter, there could be hundreds of police here, yeah. They will not touch me and Bobby because we waived our anonymity in a court of law to tell the truth. Yeah. So the police know that. A lot of other people, a lot of other survivors, I don't call them victims, I call them survivors. Yeah. It's not nice when you win the biggest court case in fucking Europe, sorry about the language, and then you get shit all over by the British establishment and the Irish establishment. Yeah. It's not nice. We are here for the children today, and we're here to make a voice. I travel, and Lizzie, and everybody else that's here, we travel over the country to get our voice out there, to tell everybody how corrupt the system is. When it comes to forced adoption, when it comes to children, HIA in institutions. Yeah. I got raped and abused, and Bobby got raped and abused in 1977 in Kilcuppin, Home. They used me and Bobby as meat because we were identical twins. That was their fantasy. Yeah. Ours was the worst case of abuse that ever came out of Northern Ireland. And that was under Lord Hart, under the HIA, who'd done a brilliant job. Yeah, I'm not knocking Lord Hart for that. But when Lord Hart finished our inquiry, he died of a massive heart attack. The HIA Inquiry Review Board ripped every single victim that came forward for address, the shreds. They shit all over us. Yeah. And we know that now. But while we were doing that, we were under a gagging order. Now, if I mentioned any name of anybody that ever abused me, whether you're a Christian brother or whether you're a priest, me and Bobby and any other victim, 2.5 years in prison or a £25,000 fine. Yeah. See everybody that's listening to me today. Yeah. We've already had the government shit on us. Me, Bobby, Phil, where are you, Phil? There you are. Me, Bobby, Phil, we're flying back to Belfast to do a documentary on our case. And we're going to fully expose the corruption. We're going to give the names out of everybody that fucking raped and abused us. We're going to do it all. Yeah? Because we're not under a gagging order no more. You know, people sit and they think, no, like every one of us here today, people can look at us and think, oh, we're all nutters on the bus. Yeah. When I look at child abuse and how big child abuse is, right? Whether you're white, black, Muslim, whatever, yeah? Child abuse is a massive thing in this country. And it's time for everybody to waken up. Yeah. I always say that I don't want anybody's door to get knocked and told that your child was raped and abused online. Damage is already done. It's not easy, like I said, to stand here and as a man, or as even as a woman. But what people don't get, I'm standing here as a man. When I was raped and abused at 12 years of age, yeah, that's what I want people to think of. Not me stood here at 57 years of age. Yeah, I was a child when me and Bobby got raped and abused. Alan was a child when he got raped and abused. It's not easy. We say it because no child should ever be raped and abused. Our children are our future. How can they have a future when we've got a government that's implicit in letting off child abuse? I turn round now, yeah, we get 160 MPs in the Houses of Parliament that are on a sex register. That could be anything up for touching your secretary up to child abuse. Lord Janner, paedophile. Leon Britton, paedophile. Cyril Smith, paedophile. The fucking list goes on and on and on. Who's voting these fuckers into Parliament? Sorry about the language. Yeah. One rule for them, one rule for us. Yeah. That's got to change. I stand here today, yeah, as a veteran. That's what citizen British. A lot of veterans joined the British Armed Forces because they wanted to make better men of themselves, because they were raped and abused as children. I did. I joined one of the best regiments in the world, and I'm proud of that.
Take a deep breath, Joe.
As much as my abuse hurt me, I know that I went on to lead a better life, to have a better life. With RUC Special Branch, Northern Ireland. I love my regiment, I love what they've done. And it gave me the strength to come forward as a veteran to do what I'm doing today. And I love that. If I didn't do that, I'd be dead. I'd be dead. In our inquiry in Northern Ireland, 533 victims came forward from HIA, historical child abuse. 90 committed suicide because it was like opening Pandora's box, and they killed themselves. We were told by the government that we were going to be given all the respite, everything. They promised us everything, and they delivered us nothing. Yeah. Now, like I said, me and Bobby's flying to Northern Ireland in a couple of weeks. Yeah, we're filled. And we're going to do a documentary on it. Yeah. To expose the system for what it is. And we can. Me and Bobby's got all our documentation through the HIA. We've got all the documentation through the solicitors. We've got everything. Yeah. And we will be exposing the system, how corrupt it actually is. Yeah. I'm stood here now. I've got two coppers looking at me that don't know me. Yeah. I'm Special Branch RUC. Yeah. And I served in Northern Ireland when it was shit. At least I can turn around and say that I done my job properly, and I done my job to my ability. I'm proud to serve the RUC. Yeah, a lot of people don't like it, but I am. I'm proud to serve the RUC. But I'll tell you what, see, if I was a British police officer, I'd be such ashamed. Yeah, and believe me, that's the truth. I would hold my head in shame. And I don't mean this to the police officers. You got your good cops, you got your bad cops. Yeah. At least when it will be served in RUC, Northern Ireland Special Branch, we done our shit to our ability, and we done it right. Yeah, and I can say that truthfully. That's why I've got these on today. Yeah. I'm not proud of my medals. Lizzie will tell you that. I throw them away all the time because of mental health issues. But honestly, right, when I look at the way the police treat truth tellers, yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. Yeah. They turn round. We're not the enemy. We're the truth tellers. We say it as it is because we're telling the truth. Why are they covering it up? Why are they putting us down all the time? Yeah. we were in Nottingham, all us veterans were in Nottingham. Guess what happened? All the police pulled their buttons out and raised them to their own veterans. And we're sitting there going, are you taking the fucking piss? Yeah. Yeah. What they forget, we taught them in rat control. And we broke straight through it, because we were all veterans that day. And we mullered them straight through them, because we can. Yeah. I'm not saying that to pull my own chain. I'm saying it because it's the truth. And we are going to get bigger and better. The veteran community will come behind us. It's time for each and every person in this country to stand up for what we want is justice and what we want is law. They don't know the meaning of the word law. We do. Time for us to take our country back. Thank you.
Well done, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. It's always a pleasure when you stand next to not only a veteran, fought for his country, but a guy who's been through horrific child abuse like Joe. I'll tell you a little bit about my family and myself. My name's Alan Merritt. Everything on my t-shirt is absolutely true. I was born in London, Hammersmith Borough, and the records are so inconsistent with the councils. They keep their childcare records in such bad order. None of it is true. They won't redact them. They take things out. There's years missing from my childcare records, and the abuse that not only I but my siblings suffered in the children's home that's on my t-shirt, Beach Home, spelled with 2 E's and 2 H's. Now, it was called respite care, and the council got me in care before I was even born. That's how bad their record keeping is. So we went in and out of children's homes, and I was in 5 children's homes before I was even 6 years of age. I didn't know too much about my children's homes in them early days. I just remember the regimental sinks and the way things were all done to order. Everything was a kind of military precision. It was all done like Dickensian. And when I was 6 years of age, I was asked by a judge in a juvenile court, and I'm looking up and I can see this unicorn, and I've never seen the unicorn before. And I wonder what this horse is, with his horn out of his head, and the crown, and then the horse, and what all the symbolism was. And this judge is looking down at a 6-year-old boy, and he said to this 6-year-old boy, which was myself, he said, would you like to go to the seaside, sonny boy? Seaside. I hadn't been to the seaside. Never been to the seaside. I've been in and out of respite care, and at 6, I was going to go to the seaside. Anyway, they put me in a place called Beach Home, which is on my shirt, and it was the most abusive children's home that I've ever been in. The beatings, they used to punch you with their fists. I remember going to Beach Home in a Black Maria. They used to call that Black Maria was the old police wagons. And they took me to Beach Home, and I was vetted by lots of members of staff just looking at me and vetting me. And they took me to a storeroom and took me all my clothes off me and put me in these shorts. And I've never worn shorts before. And they put you in these shorts because it's easy to slap children's legs. If you get your back of your legs slapped on a continuous and a daily basis, your legs become red raw. They said to me, you must call us aunties and uncles, you're not allowed to call us anything else. You must use the back door, you're not allowed to use the front door. The kids showed me the dormitories, and there's girls' dormitories there, the boys' dormitories there, you're not allowed to go down that end. They showed us where these industrial baths were, and that's where a lot of the sex abuse took place, and a lot of my sex abuse was taking place. And it seemed to be a kind of paedophile thing, where paedophiles seem to use the same methods of cruelty and treatment in bathhouses, and what they did with me is in Laburnum Cottage with Grace Robinson and Audrey Wilson, two of my abusers. They used to get you in the bath, and we tried to lock the doors with a toothbrush. It was like a coach lock, and we tried to put the toothbrush in the door to try and stop them from coming in. But they'd come into the bathroom, and they would touch you in the bath, and they used this stuff called carbolic soap. It was a red industrial floor soap that you used to scrub the floors with. And the same floor soap they used to scrub the floors with, the scrubbing brushes they used, they would use on you as children. They would scrub you with it. They put the carbolic soap, you used to burn your eyes. They used to put it in your mouth and in your eyes, and you'll be slapped and punished. And where you were slapped, the damage being done with the scrubbing brush and the carbolic soap literally burn your skin red raw. They would touch you up in the bathroom, and they would do all sorts of things to you. I was in the dormitory one night, and Audrey Wilson came in. She was standing over my bed, and because Beecham was lined by beech trees, and they called it Beecham because it was lined by beech trees, I remember seeing this dancing pattern on the ceilings of the room. I looked up in the ceilings, these dancing patterns of the leaves where the lights were coming through these trees. And it was broken one night. It was broken by this huge frame of a woman, Audrey Wilson, who was touching me up in the bed, and I could feel her touching me under the bedclothes. And I was so frightened, I curled into a little ball, and I kneeled in this little ball on this frame, and curled up so frightened, I pissed the bed. I'd never ever wet the bed prior to that. I must have been about 7. And I wet the bed, and in the morning they come to me, and they dragged me downstairs, beating me and slapping me, calling me a retard and a dirty little boy. They took me downstairs, and they made me wash my bed sheets in cold water, and then told me to get in that same water to bath. And again the scrubbing brush came out, and the carbolic soap came out, and you was abused, beaten. If you didn't eat your food, it was given to you the next day until you did eat it. If you was naughty and you spoke back at them, they make you stand and face the wall, and you stood facing that wall for hours and hours and hours until your little legs couldn't take it anymore. And if you fell down, they used to make you stand up again, and they used to hold you there until you little legs couldn't take it anymore. The punishment was horrific. There was 24 houses in Beecham, and they named them all after trees: laburnum, larch, ash, beech, lime, ash, thistle, rowan. And my whole family were in there. Two brothers, my 2 sisters and my other brother. All my family was abused in Beecham. My sisters were raped and abused in Beecham, and my brother was abused in Beecham. It wasn't so much that as well, it's the beatings. When I went to Larch House, I was in Larch House, and there was a guy called Ian McCrane. We said Audrey Wilson and Grace Robinson were in Laburnum, my abusers there. That's 2 abusers. Ian McCrane in Larch, he used to punch you with his fists. He'd hit you so hard, he'd lift you off the floor and knock you into the next room. He used to come up to you and they used to make you wash up after tea, and you'd be standing at the kitchen sink, and he'd come up and put you in a headlock, and he'd rub himself up against your back, and he'd put you on the floor and pin you down on the floor and beat you and punch you until you was almost senseless, and he'd lie on your back and rub his genitals up against your back. He was bathing boys at 12 years of age, and they used to call a guy called Uncle Ian Pete McTavish to come and sort us out as well. He'd come down and take you up to the boys' house, Kerrier, where all the boys were, and the guys that misbehaved, they used to be in that house, and he used to beat them. And this guy must have been 24 stone, and he had hands like shovels. He used to hit you, he used to hit you hard. In the primary school, we had shorts on. I had no possessions at all. I was in an orphanage. I was a child. I was a lone child. I was a loveless child. I was in the playgrounds, and Pete Whiteman and Mr. Whiteman was one of the teachers that taught across the playground, and he would chase you around the playground until he caught you, and he'd put his hands in your pockets in your little shorts, and you didn't even possess a hanky. You didn't possess any money, you didn't possess any sweets, and you didn't possess any toys. You had nothing. My pockets were bare, and he said, "What you got in your pocket, boy?" And he used to put his hands in your pockets to feel to touch you up, And he would do this blatantly in broad daylight in front of everybody in the playground, and nothing ever happened to him. Jeffrey Banner was the superintendent of Beecham. I went to the police at Banstead Police Station and said I was being abused in Beecham. I was taken back in a Black Maria to Beecham and went before Jeffrey Banner, who bounced me off his knee in his office in a perverse way and said to me, little boys like you that tell lies get sent away. And he used to point to a corner of the room of his office where his wooden cane stood, and he said, boys like you get beaten. And children would often go to his office and have their clothes removed, and he'd put them across the desk and he'd beat them with the cane or use his hands to slap them. And even girls who started to mature, he would pull the knickers down and he would punish them. It was a very, very abusive children's home. I was beaten in Ash House by another one, and I was getting a little bit older now, guys, and I was allowed to go home every now and then at weekends in my teens. And I remember Gordon Reed punching me so hard one day, he nearly broke my jaw. He hit me so hard, I just turned to him and I looked at him and I said to him, what can you do that you haven't already done? What can you take that you haven't already taken? You know, the abuse that we suffered, you know, a lot of people had it a lot worse than probably what we did. But the abuse we suffered was uncaring. They put me in harm's way. These carers or guardians for children were abusers, were paedophiles. The sources of punishment they used to use were done in the same children's home called Shirley Oaks. There's been an ICSA, government inquiry, on Shirley Oaks, and I've tried, and I've written to every single MP, every councillor at Hammersmith and Fulham Council, every councillor, Labour or Conservative at Wandsworth, and I've had one reply. I've written to mayors, CEOs, I've been to my MP's constituency office, I've been in the Home Office, I've been in the Houses of Parliament, and these MPs, instead of standing up and saying we want a public inquiry into the abuse that took place in these children's homes, but 9 times out of 10 people don't get these public inquiries and their voices are lost. I'm 66 years of age now, 67 my next birthday, and I've been fighting this all my life, and yet I've had no justice. Out of the 7 abusers, not one of them was brought to justice. 2 of them today are still alive and they weren't even investigated by the police. Now, in my 60s, the police came back to me and said to me, this is Surrey Police. Somebody's walked into the police station and said there was sexual abuse that took place in Beecham and your name was mentioned. Can we come and interview you? So they took a 4-hour drive from Guildford to where I lived to interview me. And then they asked me to go to a rape suite. It was like a room where I had cameras in the walls, and I sat down on a settee and they interviewed me, and I had to relive, like I've just told my story there, where I curled up into a little ball, where I was being abused, and I wet the bed and so on and so forth. And I told them every single thing that happened to me. And there was a lot more. We can't tell every single thing, the things that they made you do and the things you had to do. And, you know, it's horrific, the story that I told. And both my sisters were abused in Beecham. At one stage, Beecham goes back to the 1800s. And it was a workhouse for the poor kids of Kensington and Chelsea in London. And the kids not only went to Beecham and as poor kids, they also went to fight in the Second World War, and there's a regiment called the Surrey Regiment of orphan children that went only to Beecham and were abused in childcare, that went on to fight the war, and some of them never ever had a life. Some of them never came back, and some of them never. And the police have come back to me in my 60s and asked me to relive this, open this can of worms and speak again and talk about this. You pick up a septic wound and that wound will go septic again. You keep picking at it, and you know, my head wasn't in a very good place, because to this day I still have nightmares. I wake up in the middle of the night, I can still see the shadows over my body. I can still, you know, I kick out of the bed, and I don't know how many times I must have kicked my wife, but you know, she's been the brunt of it. In my 30s when I got married, she calmed me down, she used to pat me down. I was a total mess when I left Beach Home. In my first 25 years, London was my Beirut, and it was awful. I slept rough. I got myself into trouble. I had nowhere to live at one stage, so I used to put a brick through a window on a Friday night because I knew I'd locked up for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I wouldn't go to court till the Monday. I'd be released, and then I could go to the soup kitchens at Waterloo Station or other stations where there were soup kitchens, and I could get a meal, hopefully a bed for the night, or somebody would put me up on the sofa somewhere. I went round from life like that for quite some time. I was a very, very disturbed and lost young man. I got myself into so much trouble, I ended up in every prison in London. I was in Wandsworth prison when they used to have cold showers. There was no radios, there was no televisions. It was really strict and disciplined. And you had to be very careful what you said and what you did. I've seen some horrific things. I've seen guys walk up landings and have boiling hot water thrown in their face with sugar in it, and they've been scalded because they've been paedophiles. And you know, some of the stuff that I've seen in my life, you know, I wouldn't put on anybody. You're looking at me now, and put your mind in that little boy. You know, I go back sometimes and that little boy wants to come out of me. I'm telling the story. I do a show on Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night, on Wake Up UK, 7 PM every night, Wake Up UK, behind closed doors with Alan Merritt. And I talk to survivors, and I talk about horrific stuff that happens. Because you can get a rapport with another survivor, not a victim, like Joe said. We don't like to be called victims. We're not victims, we're survivors. And we're trying to take this fight forward, and we're trying to stop it from happening to children from today, tomorrow, and the future. That's why we do this. We campaign all over the country. We don't like standing here telling horrific stories about historic child abuse. It's a grotesque thing to put a child through, but it's still happening to this very, very day. Thank you, everybody.
Hiya. Knick-knack. August 2018, my daughter was 11 years old. She went to spend a week with her half-brother and his mum. They live 70 miles from where we are. Surrounded by family on her dad's side, something she's done for years. She was excited to be going, and I remember she's 11. She was always in contact with me when she's away. I'd get texts, even if I didn't get phone calls, from her dad saying she was safe. August 2018, my daughter left home, an innocent 11-year-old girl, about to start secondary school, a new chapter in her life. She returned home a broken child, her innocence stolen. By who? Her own biological dad. Her own flesh and blood. The one person she should have been safe with. There was no signs, no indication that he was a dirty fucking paedophile. He took her on a Saturday from her half-brothers, said she had to see her other family members. She didn't really want to go because her and her brother, her half-brother, there's only a year between them, obviously different dads, different mums even. Obviously she went. This is where her nightmare began. He took her to his sister's empty house. She had microwave pizza for dinner. It sounds weird, but to this day she can't eat them. It's a trigger of her abuse. She went upstairs to chill, watch TV, go to bed. Typical 11-year-old on the phone to her mates. At this point she was actually messaging me. Again, no signs of him acting strange, because she would have said. She said she was bored, and I said go to bed because it was 10:30. She said she was off to her other half-sisters tomorrow for a roast. I told her I loved her lots and I'd text her tomorrow. That was the last I'd heard from her mobile phone until a few days later, other than messages from him saying she's fine, phone calls saying she's at her half-sisters, Shannon's phone's flat, which is normal. I wasn't panicked because I knew she was in safe hands, or so I thought. She'd been so many times before, and I knew the family. I got a text on Tuesday saying, "I'm fine, Mum, I love you, I'm going back to my brother's tomorrow." Because I was the first person she told, I didn't know exactly what had happened until the court date. What I can say is it's pretty graphic and soul destroying. He beat her in order to rape her. 11-year-old, she was a defenceless child. She fought him and she fought. She managed to get away the first time. She ran to the bathroom and locked herself in. He followed her, kicked the door in, dragged her back and raped her a second time. He strangled her to the point both her eyes hemorrhaged. She said she thought she was going to die. Everything went blurry, she couldn't breathe and she passed out. She said she'd come round and thought she'd wet herself. It was blood. She was in so much pain she couldn't walk. The day he dropped her back to her brother's was the day he vanished. The monster, when caught, even had the nerve to go not guilty from the day he was arrested until the 18th of January, where he changed his plea from rape to assault by penetration and committing a crime to then commit a sexual crime. As a mum, I had to decide whether to accept this plea. Save my daughter, her half-brother and his mum and myself from giving evidence. This was put on me. If it was only me giving evidence, I'd have said, no, we'll fucking take it to trial. We'll take it all day long. But this is an 11-year-old girl having to be interrogated in court. And you know what they're like in court, how they twist things. But it wasn't me, so I accepted the change. If I'd have known exactly what evidence they had, as well as me watching my daughter being examined by a police doctor who looked at me during the examination and shook her head and said sorry, I would have gone to trial. I have to live with this for the rest of my life. He got a total of 13 years, 3 of those years to run inside a 10-year sentence. My daughter has got a life sentence, and so have I. She managed to get it out this time. She's now 14. She has nightmares, she wets the bed. I pay for her to see a private counsellor. The help we was offered didn't actually cover specific rape counselling at the age of 11. It only starts at 12, where we live. She'd been put on melatonin to help her sleep. The doctor said she'll probably need this ongoing years. There's triggers, microwave pizzas are one. Men wearing high-vis jackets is another, because he was always in his work gear. She struggles at school, finds it hard trusting people, but she is a survivor. She's strong, and I'll make sure this does not define her life. As a parent, you put your child first to get help. The support she needs, she is important. As I helped her, I was slowly breaking inside and out. I looked for help, and ironically, there's nothing for a parent. Hence me speaking, this is my therapy. Where we live, it's not a big city. You know, places like Oxford, Swindon, there's more help. There's not where we live. It shouldn't make no difference where you live, help should be there, no matter what. I started drinking heavily. When my kids come home from school, you know, I'd act like nothing was wrong. Inside, I was broken. You know, I'd sit every day from the time I dropped them off and just stare into space, trying to figure out where, you know, was there signs? There was nothing. There was no signs. Do I blame myself? Yes, of course. I failed to protect her, even though I didn't see the signs. I will always blame myself. So as a parent, you do. I placed her in that bastard's hands. Do you know what? And I can name him. It isn't written down on here. Douglas Whiting. Dougie Whiting. Dirty fucking paedophile. For years, the same questions go over and over, and they always will. I will question myself for the rest of my life. The one thing I won't question is the fact my daughter isn't a victim, she's a survivor. She is a survivor.
Listen, so like, I'm just going to say a quick word, right, about Shannon, right? That girl, my God, right? And I've been with Gemma for a year, right? And the first time I ever went round her flat, I see this little timid girl in a room, typical teenager, always in her room, yeah? I'll tell you what, in a year, my God, that girl is going to make something of herself. She's so loving, so caring, she's such a happy kid, typical teenager. But I tell you what now, and I've told Gemma 1,000 times, that is not going to define that girl's life. That animal, I'm not even going to call him a person, that animal, and I don't know anything. I've just come in after this has happened, yeah? But I tell you what, however harrowing that story is, and it's awful, I can't comprehend what they went through, but that girl, mate, has got me now fucking 100%, honestly. Such a nice girl.
I just want to say something, yeah, because today ain't easy. We've just heard Alan, me, other victims talking about our child abuse. We're talking about child abuse in general. And believe me, yeah, to be stood out here talking about it in public, it's not easy, it's hard, yeah. We end up having to relive our memories. We suffer what we call in silence. And that's the bit that people don't get. Yeah. We're here to tell the world about the child abuse, about what it does to you, how it fucks your life up. Yeah, and it does, yeah. I suffer with mental health issues. Everybody that I know that has ever been raped and abused as a child suffers with mental health issues. We can't run away from our demons. We can't go and hide in the corner and pretend that it never happened. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, under this government, they protect the pedophiles get protected more than the victims do. Yeah. And I want to bring a change to that. I don't want England to be the rape capital of the world when it comes to children. Rotherham, 1,400 girls raped and abused by Pakistani Muslims. Yeah. That's what happened. Our case, yeah, the Catholic Church raped and abused us. The biggest thing in the world. So, how can I be called racist when I'm bringing my own religion, who's the biggest religion in the world, to fucking court? It's got nothing to do with race, creed, or what, whether you're black, white, yellow or green. Yeah? If you rape and abuse your children, you should be brought to a book and you should be put, and I get that, you should be put in prison. We have to do a life sentence. They should be given a fucking life sentence as well, or hang them by the bollocks, one way or the other. Who's going to speak next then? Oh, come on then, come on then.
Thank you, honey. From some of you, you may not have heard about a young man in Scotland. Sorry, I'm just going to move over here a second. If you look on the wall behind me, justice for Reese. Reese was missing for 15 days. The police, as hopeless as they are, still no justice for this family. Stephanie's asked me today to read this. If your child was killed, how do you feel? No idea, have you, please? Take a minute to think how I feel. My son was killed. Now, if this was the other way around, and his girl's found half naked dead, it would be an outcry. Well, this was my teenage child, my Reese. Having to plead every day for my son's pictures, his post to get shared, so I can get justice. Do you think I want to do this? Do you think I thought the police would have helped him? Of course I did. She's asking today to help share Reese's face. We need to get justice for Reese.
Do your next one.
I'm now here on behalf of Jaycee's family. who sadly can't make today. Jace is an adorable baby boy who lives in Scotland with his mum and his family. In January 2020, 1 week before my son's 4th birthday, he was sexually abused by Adam McMaster. His mother was a family friend, and we invited him up from Manchester to stay with us. On the 17th of January 2020, Kerry Wilson, Adam's mother, told Adam to take care of Jace in the bedroom to play on the PlayStation. He double locked the doors, sat my son on the bed, and told him what he's going to do to my son. My son told him no, but Adam told Jace to be quiet and forced himself on my son. After raping my baby, he told me that if he told anyone, he would kill Jace and his family. From that moment, my son was left traumatised and in fear for his life. He stole my son's innocence, destroyed his childhood, and left my son with a life sentence. Jace kept himself to himself for 6 months and finally opened up and told us what happened. I went straight to the police that night, begging them to help me. A video interview was set up for Jace. I wasn't allowed in the room to be with my traumatised 4-year-old. After the police video interview, the police told me that Jace had managed to give them more details than he first told me. Things no 4-year-old would know or understand. The police told me that with what Jace had told them, that this was enough to go to court, but they wanted to do more investigating. During the investigating, Adam McMaster to this day has never been questioned. Yet in 2017, when Adam was 13 years old, he was at Swinton Police Station being interviewed for the rape of a young boy and his little sister.
Take a deep breath, Jill.
They had all the evidence against Adam for this case, but like Jace's case, this wasn't taken to the High Court because of Adam's apparent lack of understanding. Yes, he knew what he was doing the minute he threatened to kill my 3-year-old son if he told anyone what he had done. Also during the investigation, 7 other victims came forward, also from Manchester. Children and adults. The police spoke with these other victims but failed to log their statements. Since 2017, Adam had restrictions put in place by social workers and Manchester Police that he was not allowed near any child under the age of 18. His mother and the social worker failed to abide by these restrictions and allowed Adam to mix with children in his street and stay with us in Scotland, knowing that my sons would be at risk from him. Social workers, police, child protection and Scottish justice system have failed my son. I have appealed the court decision not to take this to court twice. I raised my concerns of Adam being free to walk the streets. Is it going to take him to kill a young child for them to open their eyes and something is done about this beast? We have been in contact with the Lord Advocate, who has now stepped down. My mum is now dealing with a new Lord Advocate. My mum also had phone calls back and forth with Adam's social workers manager. She told my mum that it was her who done the reports for the CID. And that they are not saying this didn't happen to Jace. They know something has happened, but they feel Adam would not cope with being locked away. But what about my son? He has destroyed my boy's life. My baby boy seeing a counsellor once a week. That has now stopped due to lockdown and has never been continued. He wets himself constantly because of thoughts in his head and the horrible nightmares he has almost every single night. He's terrified and scared to meet new men. He can't trust anyone. My baby isn't the same little boy anymore. He suffers on a daily basis for what Adam has put him through, but they're allowing him to live his life as normal after raping children because he wouldn't cope behind bars. How do you think Adam's other victims and the victims' human rights, now that has been taken away, are coping? Where is his justice in that? Justice for Jace.
Justice for Jace!
This was also written on behalf of Jace. I was a happy, carefree little boy, then my life changed. A child rapist entered my life, and from that day my life was rearranged. He took my innocence before I even knew what it was. He left my family heartbroken, fighting a never-ending cause. See, they want justice for me, and they bravely fight for this every day. The paedophile should be held to account, so another little boy will have their childhood taken away. I know my mummy loves me, I know that she's so sad. I don't really understand why, I'm only 5 years old, a small lad. I try my best to be happy and play and fool around, just like any little boy. But at night I'm scared and break down. I didn't used to wet the bed, and I wasn't plagued with nightmares. I used to sleep soundly before I was told the system don't care. You see, my white rapist walks free while I'm locked in a world of my own. Because my rapist has learning disabilities, it seems the violence is condoned. He is deemed a vulnerable adult, but I'm just a little boy. What will this man do next? My mummy is scared of the childhood he will destroy. I may not have been the first, and my mummy's fear is I won't be the last. How many of us will be hurt and will be haunted by our past? I don't know what my future holds, and I know my mummy worries. She wants me to grow up happy, but right now there is no hurry. I want to be a carefree little boy and enjoy my childhood. My mummy will make that happen, but that night remains misunderstood. Maybe that's why my mummy cries, because she sees how much I've changed. The world now seems an unsafe place because of a man deranged. I don't want a man to hurt others, but nobody listens to me. I'm just a little boy that the justice system don't care to see. But what happens in the future if this man continues to walk free? Will the next little boy be killed, or will there be others hurt like me? I know my mummy wants me in jail, that means he doesn't walk around free. Because he can't do to others what he's done to me. It's not nice having nightmares, and it's not nice wetting the bed. It's not nice not being able to trust, and it's not nice remembering what he said. Mine and mummy's life has changed, but it remains the same. He hasn't been punished, and so he hasn't been told he's to blame. If he doesn't think he's a bad man, then mummy worries us that others will be hurt. He's told he's above the law and carry on being a pervert. One day I'll be a teenager and eventually a grown man. Will I be haunted by that night? I know that's not in my mummy's plans. So she'll carry on fighting for justice, and that makes me so proud. I know my mummy loves me. And she goes out of her way to shout that out loud. Still, I want us to be happy, but a day meant everything changed. Will everything be normal again? It seems everything has been rearranged. I'm still that little boy, and there's still joy in my soul. That day may have changed everything, but it doesn't deserve to be in control. It may be beyond the law, it seems, and the justice system's a joke. But I will be happy as I can be, because my family isn't broke. My mummy will always love me, and that fills me with joy. She tries to make everything better, because I will always be a little boy. Be now or in the future, she will always do best by me. So that doesn't have to change everything. Because my mummy still sees me, in her eyes I am her world. And she's always by my side, that will always be the case. And so we can all move on with pride. Again, look for justice for Jace on Facebook.
That was a child's statement. No, how hard does that hurt? We feel his pain, everything. And this is what we kick on. That's why we do the demos that we're doing. Yeah. The government are complicit in child abuse. The establishment is complicit in child abuse. Yeah. You can go out, whip anybody you want, and you get a 2-year sentence. What people forget, when it comes to a child, or an adult, or a woman, we get a life sentence. That's the difference between what's going on now, and that's got to change.
Well said, Joe.
2 weeks ago, I had a phone call that changed my life. My life will now never be the same. My 13-year-old son had been sexually abused. My world fell apart, and for that time, they had won. I couldn't see the light. Just for a little while, they had me. They waited 2 weeks before interviewing him. I'm still unsure if he has been interviewed. They shut me out. They won't give me any information. He's my son, not theirs. He's still going to the same school as the lad who abused him. My son sees the attacker on a daily basis. Who is safeguarding him? Who is safeguarding the other children? The school has a sexual predator in their midst. Is my son his first victim? Grab George. Is he any more? Will there be any more? Will he assault my son again? I've been told the lad who sexually abused my son may get away with it, as a boy who abused my son has learning disabilities. Social services fail many children and continue to do so. Children, parents fight for justice for their children. Some of these children are now adults and still fighting for justice. When will the government punish those who have harmed our children and continue to do so? I promise I will not stop fighting for justice for my children. I won't stop fighting for justice for every child who is now an adult. The police don't care. The social services don't care. The government who's designed to protect our children don't care. If we don't stand up now and start being more united, how many more children? Just how many more? Save our children!
Save our children!
Hello everyone. I've travelled up from London today on a different aspect from what you've heard from my friends that have spoken before me. I'm here to speak on behalf of a charity in the northeast of England called Parenting Together Partog. These facts have been compiled by this charity and they're factual. You can go online, you can find these facts. This is not... I'm going to read out because the CEO of the charity is not allowed to attend these kind of events and gatherings, which is quite disturbing, to be fair. For more than 50 years, the government and broadcast media conspired to hide these facts about child abuse, but I will not hide them. The vast majority of brutal and sexual assaults are interracial. Virtually all child rape is perpetrated against white girls. The vast majority of babies sold to adoption agencies are sent abroad are white. Abroad. Please focus on abroad. British-born white children being adopted abroad. The majority of child abuse and gang rape happens within the school setting. The vast majority of domestic abuse cases are perpetrated by someone who is not the biological father of the child or the children within the home. Factual. Organised sectarian rape gangs, religious grooming gangs, and please do not jump on that Shaney is talking about just the Muslim. I'm a Roman Catholic, I'm awake, I'm alive and I'm aware, okay? have free access to organised sectarian rape gangs have free access to personal, intimate details from the NHS and the social services records of your local authority. 95% of gang rape victims are involved with social services. Infant mortality in Bradford, for example, is 4 times more than the national average. Unexplained deaths of children under 5 in places like Bradford are 50% higher than average. Children die from shock and heart failure whilst being sexually abused. Suicide is the main cause of death, apparently, for children from the age of 5 years old. 5. British children aged 2 and 3 are now self-harming, an age when they become self-aware. And we are, as a group, all very aware what's been brought into the schools, and they are trying to bring into other schools at the age of 4. Selective reporting means white perpetrators are always exposed. Yet Manchester police alone failed to report 80,100 sexual crimes against children in 1 year. 1 year. We cannot trust those that lie to us about child abuse. Sorry. Wake up and smell the bovine excrement you are being fed from mainstream media daily. Broadcast media and politicians make their money playing divide and rule, politicising your gender, sexuality, heritage, skin colour beliefs. Entertainment media like Benefit Street and politicians like Naz Shah dehumanise British working class children and justify abusing them as little chavs, and it's not a word that I can say in the square today, but it begins with S and it ends with S. From broken homes and dysfunctional families. In truth, and parents have nowhere to turn. The social workers promise children new clothes, trainers. I'm even aware of ponies being offered if they accuse their parents of abuse. Young mothers are promised state benefits if they accuse the child's father of domestic violence. Politics and media tear British families apart in this way to access their highly valuable white children. UK regions having the safest, happiest, highest achieving children enjoy the constant love and protection of their natural family. Their parents are not saints. They are not perfect. Who is? They argue and regret their mistakes just like the rest of us. They often earn the lowest average incomes, yet they need only a tiny fraction of the police and literally just a handful of social workers, about 1 per 100,000 population. The practical approach to safeguarding children is to reduce potential by preserving the integrity of our families as the perfect institution and a human right of everyone. The first question every paedophile asks a child: how often do you see your dad? Contrary to what politicians and the media have told you over the past 50 years, more police, more social workers and tougher sentencing have clearly made child abuse worse. They are farming low-income parents like cattle and manipulating us like sheep to steal and abuse our beautiful children. Please choose new leaders from among yourselves, not from the mainstream politicians who have betrayed us with lies, empty promises and fake reports. That is the statement from the CEO of Parenting Together. It's factual, it's available online. Now, my line of work is prevention is better than cure, and I think we need to unite and stop these social workers from ever coming into the door of the homes, Because as you saw from my tree friends that spoke before me, they go for the children, they target the parents at a very young age and they remove them, ideally from birth. Okay, so I'm going to read a statement out, and I had social services involved, but I didn't engage. And as I say to everybody, I was very lucky my children weren't removed. But I will stand out on every event, and I will speak for other people that can't speak, other parents that can't speak, and I will speak for every single child within the care system in the UK. This statement is available from me today or online, and it's factual. There's a lot of Mackenzie friends out there that will tell you you can't do this, but you can do this, guys. Believe me, each and every single one of you parents can do this. Social services, when they contact you, they often mislead you into believing they have more power than they really do. They may try and ask you to sign authorisation so they can dig into your background. You do not have to do this. If you sign this authorisation, they can then have full access to your medical file. They also contact other agencies, such as police, school. Please be aware, this is so that they can build a case against you. Also, if your child or children are taken into care, they might ask you to sign a Section 20. Never ever sign a Section 20! Often, they will not explain to you what you are signing. Do not sign. If you sign this document, you may lose your parental rights. Do not sign any documents unless you and your legal team have read through them together. It's important. Section 20 signed, child gone, we fight to get child back. It's a battle. The local authority will often tell you that you may need to do certain things even if they are irrelevant. Ask yourself, is the work that they are asking you to agree to relevant? You may be asked to undertake some narcotics or alcohol work. If you are a person who has never used this, it should be irrelevant. If you agree to undertake the work, it builds more of a case against you, as you are agreeing and you have a problem. Often they may try and ask for a drug test to be done. Many are parents who do not use drugs fail these tests daily. This isn't by mistake, it's because of cross-contamination that social services with the labs use. Last but not least, please download a recording app on your phone. Record them for your own safety. The only place by law you are not allowed to record is in the family court. This is a place that what goes on inside has to remain strictly confidential, even though it's illegal. Please also log and record all telephone conversations between you and any party of your involvement. This is so for your own security that you can at a later stage cross-reference with what could be written in your children's report. This is to stop any corruption happening. Please remember, do not be intimidated by a social worker. They are a service provider, just like your weekly refuge director. If you do everything they say, they have got you, they want you. This is when they do their very best to destroy you and your child will be removed.
Then we've got some new batteries. I think this is going. Yep, it's working perfect. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for all coming to Leeds today. Right, as you've all heard, you've heard some stories today, and that break most people's hearts. You have to be inhuman not to be broken hearts of what's gone on to a lot of these victims. Guys, I've come up here today because what's going on with this? Yeah, but both of them was doing it. Both of them were doing the same thing. So basically, guys, what I'm doing today is I'm out here to where.
It's the angle, I think.
Right. I'll speak behind it, maybe that'd be a bit better. Basically, I'm out to. There's something going on with this. It's in the speaker system. Don't know, check 1, check 2, check 3. It's working, I ain't got a clue. So basically, guys, every time I talk, it blurs out and now. So basically, guys, here.
Is the other one switched off?
The other one's off. We'll test that out for a second. Right. Got that one off.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So hopefully that works now. Okay, it might be because it's too close to my mouth and it's just blurting out. So, guys, I've come from London today, and basically, guys, I run a group called Social Services Stopping Our Children's Lives. Just doing it all the time when I'm talking. So basically, I run a group called Social Services Stop Stealing Our Children Your Lives, and that's a group for support for parents up and down the UK who've had their children taken and placed for forced adoption or been placed into long-term foster care. I run this group, and the reason I run this group is because I come into contact with social services myself about 18 months ago. I come into contact with them, and I couldn't believe some of the reports that they was writing about myself, and I thought, hold on a minute, they're writing reports about somebody I don't even know. And I was a bit confused, and I thought, how can somebody in a legal profession, actually as a children's services worker, write reports in a way, it's more like a horror story, they're writing a fictitious horror story that they're trying to write. So I started digging into a few anti-social services groups, like forced adoption groups, and started having a look around on there, and I know there's so many other parents that face the same problems as myself was facing. So that made me then start doing a lot of research into it, because what we all had in common, we all turned around and said to children's services workers that were in our life were telling lies about us to steal our children and remove our children. So that made me decide, look, why would a children's services worker want to steal your children? So what you have to do is investigating into the background of it all, and what I find is if you follow the money, you can find where the root cause is. Each local authority within the UK are given a set. Each local authority in the UK, there's something wrong with the speaker box. Each local authority in the UK have been given a government target, which is handed down from Westminster to each local authority, which is your local council. So basically, imagine now your local council.
Try the other mic, Bill. It might work better with the other mic.
So each local authority within the UK basically are setting targets to remove so many children. To say the quota in the local authority is 500 children, I've just used that as an example, which is your local council. They have to remove that many children. If the children's services workers don't get to that quota of the amount of children they need to remove, then they will not get their bonuses basically in relation to the adoption of the children, which stands at the moment at £32,320 to place a child within the UK for adoption. Right, so a child has got a price tag on its head of £32,320. Guys, this is absolutely disgusting. I've never come across anything in my life. Right, they've got an incentive now. If you go onto Indeed Recruitment, which is one of the biggest recruitment agencies within the UK, they advertise for children's service workers. Not only do they get a company car, not only do they get discount restaurants or basically UCI with their kids going off to the cinema and stuff like that. Not only do they get these things, they get a paid performance related bonus. So ask yourself,
a children's services worker has been given a paid performance-related bonus, why is this? Why would you get a paid performance-related bonus? Why would you? Right? Other than to remove more and more children to reach your local authority's targets, so you get the 32,000 per child that have been placed for adoptions. Guys, it's opened my eyes, and I'll be honest with you, I've never come across such injustice and heinous stuff that is happening to so many innocent parents. So guys, what I've got to say, right, what I've got...
One, two.
What I've got to say, people, right, from when a social worker or a children's services worker has to come and tell lies to remove children, that is not about protecting the child, right? So if you've got a lie to protect a child, lie to take a child, is not about protection, that is actually abuse of the children, right? There should be no abuse to any child, right? So a children's services worker comes into your life and they have to lie to take your child. They're robbing your child of their innocence, right? Because they're robbing your child of knowing who their parents are. They're robbing them. At the end of the day, your children deserve to know you. Unless you're abusing your child, if you're abusing your child, then you should not have your child, right? That is what a children's services worker is supposed to be there for. Not the risk of future emotional harm, which they bring into the equation so much, right? 97% of children in the UK at the moment are being removed due to future risk of emotional harm, right? That's like me saying to you, do not get on that bus and go to the next bus stop because the bus is going to die. Our bus is going to crash, everyone's going to die, right? This is too much, right? It's too many innocent parents suffering at the hands of what these lies are doing. But it's not just us suffering, it's the children that are suffering, right? So if the children are suffering, it's affecting every single one of us because our kids are suffering, right? And guess what? Every single one of us adults in this square today is not important because you know who's important? The children. Because they're what's important. That's what we stand for. That's why we stand these pavements today. Every single one of us is standing out for these children, right? That's why we stand out. That's why I've come all the way from London, right, to here today to stand with all you guys. And thank you so much for inviting me up here, right? This has got to stop because the abuse has got to stop with all children. Abuse, no matter what, whether it's sexual abuse, physical abuse, right, emotional abuse. Social workers stealing our children, this all has to stop. And the only way we can stop this is by people coming out and raising their voices so we can raise the awareness. Thank you very much and thank you for letting me on. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, my name's Jade. I'm JC's mum and my son was a victim of child sexual abuse. I would like to say a huge thank you to the movements United for the Children, United by State Trauma, the group We Hear You and Expose Scotland for giving me a platform to stand up and share my son's story and raise awareness. Being invited along to these demos and speaking at them are the only thing that gives me hope and eventually getting justice for my son. With all these groups, going to the demos and all the survivors and the people who organise this, I wouldn't be able to cope or get through any of this without them all. I would also like to say a huge thank you to Jill, who stood up in Leeds and shared my son's story with the support from Joe Blair. You're all amazing and we're like one big family. We all stand in this together and we will not be silenced. Thank you. Justice for Jace.
Hiya, I'm Mr. Stephen Bonner. I'm a granddad of Chris Bonner, Stephanie Bonner's son, Scott Devine's son. I'm the Bonner's granny. The day, last time we seen Reese was the 24th of July 2019, a Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. I left my house, his granddad's house, at 2 o'clock. Walked up Wadley Road. On his way up to Wadley Road, he met his mum's house, just around the corner from me. She's goodbye to his mum's, walked up to Wadley Road, going up to East House Shopping Centre. He met his granny Linda Bonner. So he says goodbyes to Linda, and he says to Linda, we're going to see the granddad at 7:30 to watch the football, the Celtic European game that night. So he'll come down and watches me. Sits a chair next to me and watches that chair there. No, sorry, I need to. That's his chair there. He just sits there and watches the game on the TV facing me. Well, when he left, must have been 2:15 at Waterloo Shops when he left his granny Linda Bonner. He proceeded to walk up East House Shopping Centre. He got there, must have been what, 25 past 2 in the afternoon, 2:30. He got there and he met a crowd of people there. There was lads there, girls, boys. Dee was there, Donna Drummond. She was the last person to see Reese Bonner alive. So we were up the shopping centre all day, him and his friends, well, pals, associates with Dee, Donna Drummond. We say Dee. She was only barred on Facebook, so I said Donna Drummond. This is a fact. She was the last person to see Reese Bonner alive in Bishop Workfield. The race was found 15 days after. He went missing on the 24th of July. He was found the 8th of the 8th, 2019, Thursday. Reese was found on Thursday, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. In Peel, Scotland, Sergeant MB came down to my daughter's house and says to my daughter that they found Reese in machine trees, 3 feet deep, muck and water. His pants on and Celtic t-shirt on. But unknown to the police, my daughter had phone calls saying Reese was being dragged after reading feet by Police Scotland and specialist divers were out to support their family. So when MB said to my daughter, Reese was respected and dignified, well, there was a video circulating about Reese Bonner being dragged 1,000 feet. People took it off Facebook and people took it off in matter of respect, you know. And the person had it, he lied to me. He said that I just took it, not for any malice or any evilness, it was just for accountability. So my daughter's taking the video, so we have it as evidence against Police Scotland and Internal Affairs. The first Internal Affairs, there was 26 complaints made by Stephanie Bonner, Reese Bonner's mother, my daughter's through agony. I don't know if anybody's lost a son. Man who feels he was against him. So imagine the hurt, the pain, and agony scene for singing the rag. 1,000 feet, no, in a body bag, 2 ropes tied. Especially divers, mainly by them, the red jumpers on, it's in the video. I've got to show her here, Sophia. I don't want this happening to anybody else's family. The police Scotland just all information that we had crossing all information about Reece. I can't say too much now. Because I'm going to take to a civil court for my daughter and for Reece. Reece needs some answers. A gentleman, young boy, 6'1", big tall boy, smart, young, vulnerable, all these things, you know, starting in life. Mum of the day, rest of us, no, because I didn't look at window and say, do you know what, don't think, do you? But I've seen myself go back for a Celtic game. So back to East Wales Shopping Centre, known as the Works now. He's with his pals here, and DD. So I mentioned DD, and it's Donald Drummond. In fact, last person to see, he's playing alive. So on camera, they're caught on camera, 20 past 6, but in between that, they're in the Bookies, Bookies, Greer's pub, all about the car park, going to the back of this shopping centre where they sell drugs there. And she's a known drug dealer, I know, and she's a known person of interest, you know. So, every day up there, Reece was seen leaving the entrance to the shopping centre, known as the Locks, at 20 past 6 with Donald Drummond and the lassie with fair hair. This lassie we don't know who it was. It's a fair idea myself, but nobody's investigating it, so, you know. So they crossed the road, to Bunstein Road. They walked up there, and that was 20 past 6. Next time we seen on camera was Conway Road, and that's only 2 minutes up the road, no. But they get seen at 20 past 7, up on Conway Road, the premise shops, knock sales. So, what in between that area, I don't know the event. Once you go through Bunstein Road, there's only one place to go to, it's Conway Road. If not, you go through Bishop Fields. And the lane takes you to Donald Drummond's house, in Lock End Road, Easter House. Bishop Fields is no Bishop Fields as you think, locks everywhere. No, it's a big, massive field. And the funnel's going to connect each other's lock, you know. So, it was an air missing there, so we didn't know what happened that year. So what happened between 20 past 7, premise shops. Donald Drummond went in, off sales, got drink. Reece is outside. Now, we've had information now, Reece been in and out taxis, going to Langback Crescent, Wellhouse, and that's Easter House as well. But that's down the lower end, next to Balamac, where I stay. So we're supposed to be down there, back up to travelled up to Premier, 20 miles and taxis back and forth, local taxis, private ones, you know. And cheap drink, so, you know, nothing 2 or 3 times up there and back and forth. And the last time I seen Reece alive was up Conway Road, 20 past 7, with Donald Drummond. There's a few names get mentioned, but before, so they said Donald Drummond's name, and that was it. But there's other people there as well, so there's a few names there, there's 5 names there, you know, quite a few mails, you know, and obviously I've got people accused to me about things, what I can't say, nothing too much, because the investigation is going nowhere. For instance, I'll give you an example. The very first witness, his name, I've always said it on Facebook, anyway, Bongo, that's his nickname, Bongo, nickname. Ex-drug dealer now, for that. He lived in Backhobby Road, he's a witness. He stated that he seen Reece Bonner and Donald Drummond walking down Backhobby Road, Proven Hall, at 5 past midnight, Thursday morning. So, 11 months later, police spotting came to Stephanie's door and said it wasn't Reece Bonner walking down with Donald Drummond. So, I thought the investigation might be opened again. Well, it was opened, you know, but that was new information, new evidence, you know. So, I wanted to know who this person was, but Bongo says it was Reece. Was he lying? the reason I'm saying this is a line for, because 3 months ago my wife Linda Bonner and her friend went up to this bungalow's new house, lived in the corner now, Cornsby Road now he lives now, and asked him, where did you see Reese at midnight? And he turned to, well, he says to me at the start, he seen Reese midnight out his window, and the reason he knows what, because he needed a toilet, it was midnight, and he went to the toilet to do pee, and he said to me, so I was up at his door, so he didn't let me in the house. I just got in and seen his toilet window, it's glazed, it's spun up, it's glazed because it's facing a field, you know, and people can see in, so if you're naked you can see in, so they glaze it up so you can't see, it's just a shadow. There's no way he can see Reese or Donald Drummond out the window, but as I say, see 3 months after it, they were 3 months there, going by there. As I've said before, I cut off there. I want to find who this person was, so it should be an investigation, but police have done nothing about it. So my daughter was going to put 6 complaints in against Police Scotland, Easterhouse and Shettleston police stations. MD, he was in charge, a sergeant, he was at Easterhouse sergeant for 25 years, in charge at Shettleston as well, joint effort, and that's missing person investigations. My daughter's going to put 6 complaints against him, and the person in affairs is held by police themselves, so they investigate themselves. So one was upheld, and the one that upheld was both chat doors. Did you see this boiler? Did you see this big boy? Did you see this woman wearing? This woman's age is 47-year-old. She was at the time, she's now about 50. Reese was 19, a 19-year-old lad, you know, vulnerable was his age, you know, and a lot of older people were about him. During the day, say, bright, that 19 is different. You know, this, people react different when they're in the area of safety. You know, Reese was 3 miles away from safety and pitch black. Was supposed to be, we don't know. Last time we've seen camera was 7:20, so this is all hearsay that. So I've got a few information myself, but as I say, it's 26 complaints and 10 official police squad had, and I've held one, it's called shut doors, depending on what you see, these people on the day, that day, blah blah blah. They didn't do that, so they upheld that, so they did that for anyone and missing persons, but that's common sense, isn't it? So it's going to, well, it has been the PIRC, it's internal affairs, it's independent affairs, internal affairs now, but it's all property developers, ex-policemen, ex-businessmen, or money men, you know. He's been doing it, don't know how long now, it's quite long now. It's been interrupted by people changing personnel into this internal affairs. Nearly don't go through, there's no accountability, you know, there's no accountability at all. My daughter's had nothing back. When I started the investigation, my daughter got no help anybody else. But anybody, any other agency, whatever, to help people trying to come to terms, you know, grieving, you know, trying to get answers somewhere, and you're frustrated and the police not giving you answers, and never else there to help you. I don't know, the public's there to help us, and we're here to help the public see what's going on, you know, with your own eyes. And even the video, that tells you, there's no words, you don't need any words for this video. You see Reese, my grandson has been dragged. It's not because of my grandson, but it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But, you know. So imagine my daughter seeing that, and she tries to close her eyes at the gym. She sees her son. And this is 15 days after it, you know. After the event happened. Or was it 15 days? We don't know. But it's been 15 days in there after this horrifying thing happened to my grandson and her son. So my daughter still waiting on Jennifer Fells, Stephanie Bonner, and Scott Devine, the father of his Bonner. And he's a very gentle, kind lad, you know. He kept like the olden days now, but in the 80s, maybe 2000 and all, he used to open doors for women and that and whatever, you know, he did all that. He'd be the polite person, you know, and do things and go to shows, blah blah, see his grannies, you know, got his mammies and that's his mammies, you know. He's a helpful wee lad, you know. A wee example down Packhead, it's in my bit in Glasgow. You know, I walks by these three guys sitting down. People call them junkies, you know, but I know, we don't know what happened to them. So I walks by with Reese and staying chatting, you know, notice a young boy. Same as Reese, you know, the Reese is like, yeah. Granddad, you get fags? Yeah, I said, nah. I said, well, hey, I'm going to buy fags anyway. I'll give you some. I get a can, any problem, got my can, give them just fags. You can buy my fag at all time. I'm saying to myself, where is he? He's getting a young lad up. You know? He wee boy. It just shows you his age, you know. He was born in the wrong time, you know, but my daughter's not the worst memories, you know. 19. I mean, if you know how he died, you know, something. Thanks for helping. I can't see too much now because I'll interrupt in case we're going to have a divorce, you know, so you can pick for that when you want to pick for that, please. I'm trying to get it there, but this can, Mrs. Jimbo here, thank you for the news, and accountability for all, please. Thank you. One more thing, my grandson's birthday's coming up on the 30th of September. My daughter's trying to fight hard on Facebook. She's on TikTok. I don't know watch us, but you know, she's funny, but she doesn't funny TikTok with me, you know. People join her, then justice for respect as well. So I like that, but I know, but she's got to do this for. Because she's still alive, because I start knowing from the Greens, no, my grandweens, no. So it's enough point of view for the grandweens, point of view. The big cousin, the big brothers, they know that, I know. They go to school, you know, it's, you know what he's like, no? Also, local news, you know. We say bad things, don't mean it, you know, it's not like kids. But it does affect you. No, us, the wee ones, you know. One's a secretary in LA, and you get paid. You're Taylor. Maybe David. He's your pal. And he's Charlie, he's Scott. You know? He's your brother. You know? Your brother. They've got my life in front of you. Same with you. But you know what, asking for much. You know, I don't know, I cry. Promise me when they cry. But we'll see you. We'll see you when anybody cares.